This is Dante Randall, and I want to introduce you to Jackie Thompson Dodd, who is joining me today for this conversation. Jackie, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for this opportunity to talk with you.
I'm excited to have this discussion. It's much needed.
Yeah.
But to tell you a little bit about myself, I was diagnosed in October of 2017 with early stage triple negative breast cancer. I had a double mastectomy followed by chemotherapy, after which I was NED, no evidence of disease, for about 11 months. And then in April of 2019, I started to experience some chest pain, burning, and actually lost the use of my arms. And at this time, my plastic surgeon ordered a CT scan, and that's where we found a metastatic lesion to my sternum. And this was an opportune moment actually for me to actually have the diagnosis, because I was diagnosed on a Tuesday, and then I learned that LBBC was having the metastatic breast cancer conference that same weekend. And so it was the perfect time for me to go and educate myself and educate my friends and my family. And it just opened my eyes and revolutionized how I looked at my stage 4 diagnosis. It gave me so much hope and so much knowledge about the things that are available treatment-wise and integrative medicine and so forth and so on. And so ever since then, I've been deeply connected with LBBC and supporting the things that they're doing in the community for young women and also for women of color. So today, what we're really going to talk about is the importance of therapy for Black women. There is a stigma that exists in our community and what we need to do about it, and then to provide others with tips and strategies and resources that will help, whether it's therapy, whether it's meditation, whether it's painting, whether it's working out, because I like to work out and that sort of helps me out. But that's what we have Jackie for. We're going to have this discussion, and she's going to discuss with me great ways for us to tackle the topic of mental health services for women of color. Jackie is a women's health educator and licensed advanced social worker with over a decade serving the cancer community. Please go to lbbc.org to read Jackie's full bio. And again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. And I know you're way on the other side of the country from me. I'm on the East Coast. So please tell me what the weather is like in Seattle, because every time I think Seattle, I think rain.
No, it does rain a lot. But today, the sun is shining and it's about 78 degrees. So it's beautiful here. So
oh, that's really nice. That's a pretty optimal temperature, because we're kind of hot and steamy right now on the East Coast.
And it doesn't get humid here.
Definitely good.
Yeah.
All right, let us dive in.
Okay.
We want to talk about, firstly, the stigma that exists in the Black community surrounding mental health issues and therapy. I know just in general, my experiences have been when I was growing up that we don't need to tell other people our business.
Yeah, girl, don't put your business in the street.
Don't put your business in the street. What goes on in this house stays in this house.
Exactly.
And don't you go outside and tell anything. If the sky is purple in your house, you say it's blue when you get outside.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's punishable. It's you get in trouble for saying something that could be so simple as, somebody's depressed and don't want to get out of bed. And so that has been passed down from generations. It's not even really spoken. It's just the behaviors. And so what are some of the stigmas and reasons?
Well, that's cultural, but it's protective. It was intended for us to be able to make sure that nobody has any kind of entree into you or your house or your being. So it was a way to shelter yourself, to put armor up, to be able to hold everything at bay. Now there's a real cost to that.
Yes.
Because what it does is it requires a stoicism. It requires you to hold it in. And so many Black women, if you look at our pictures, what are we doing? We're holding our lip. Mm-hmm. We're holding it in, right? Yeah. So we're told to do that, but it's at great cost to us. Yeah.
And you're absolutely correct, because when I was first diagnosed and people were reaching out, well, like, don't you want to vent? Don't you want to talk? And it's hard for me because I've watched my mother be a teenage mother and a single mother, and I've just watched her push forward no matter what has gone on. And so I've adopted that personality and those mannerisms. And so even when I'm hurting on the inside or I need to vent, I'm often not wanting to share those things because, like you said, we're protective. I don't want someone to see me vulnerable, because so many people either stab you in the back or pick apart your vulnerability till you're in pieces. And then also us being caregivers for everyone in the world, everyone in the family, I'm carrying the burden of everyone else. So it's like when I need to break down, it's kind of hard for me to lean on someone else because I don't think they're going to be able to shoulder the burden that I'm going to lay on them.
Right, exactly. So yeah, you really you've got it. You certainly are understanding that. And the issue is, it's not just you. It
Right.
is us. It culturally, there
Yes.
is. It's kind of a what can I say? A legacy of the strong Black women. We're strong Black women, and you know that's not exactly good.
Right. It has come to our detriment.
We wound ourselves and each other by trying to hold up to that standard, and it's a burden that's very difficult. And so in my work, I really try to break, first of all, provide a safe enough space so that women feel like they can peel off those layers a little bit and show themselves. But we don't have the skills to be able to truly wade into all of our feelings either. So that's where therapy comes in. That's why we need help with that. So I'm jumping ahead, but it's like
it's okay.
This is our conversation, and so it's really, I'm so happy that you are so open to allow this kind of stuff to come to the surface, because we need to be able to model something different for Black women. So you and me, let's start that.
So what are some of the signs and symptoms of anxiety, or starting to have depression, or what other, I don't want to get into exact diagnosis, other mental health issues that people should be aware of that they wouldn't normally think? I know I grind my teeth in my sleep, and I would wake up with my jaws hurting and having headaches. I had a lack of concentration. Normally, I love to read. I could sit and read, and that's like my getaway more than TV. I couldn't concentrate. And then I also noticed, I call it, when I told my therapist, it's like a shirking of normal responsibilities. I wouldn't be on top of my household duties. Like I wouldn't wash the dishes every night, or I'd let my laundry pile up for 3 weeks. And then, you know what I'm saying, because I just had a lack of motivation. What are some other signs and symptoms that people may display?
Headaches and blurred vision, shortness of breath, because so often to try to hold it in, you hold your breath.
Wow. Shortness of breath.
Shortness of breath is really there. Digestive upset is a real big thing, where you're gassy, or you might have diarrhea or constipation. It could be
the opposite.
At either extreme. But gastric upset is a real big one. How your eating habits, emotional eating is a real big thing. So that comfort foods, whether or not it's potato, a lot of times it's starches. So
Oreo cookies.
It could be salty, crunchy. It could be sweet. Even if you're eating the same things, just either eating more or not eating at all.
Okay.
So watching those kinds of things are signals. And also just kind of mindlessness. So often, you can be in your house, because we're stuck in the house right now. Be in the house and you get up to do something and you're halfway there and it's kind of like, what am I doing?
You're on autopilot.
Yeah, on autopilot. Yeah. And if you go out, you just kind of, roaming around, or if you're driving in your car and not being aware of, how did I end up here? So mindlessness is another symptom. And I hate to call them symptoms, it's signals. A signal that, let's clue in.
Hey, something is going on.
Yeah, something is really going on.
The only thing is that in the breast cancer community, for those of us that are in active treatment, those GI symptoms are also side effects of the chemo or the meds you're on. So I didn't, oftentimes I'm always trying to figure out what's going on with my stomach. Like, is it from the meds? Is it from the chemo? Like, so I wouldn't necessarily clue into that till you said it, but I did notice the eating habits, just eating more, or one all of a sudden craving sweets when I don't really eat them like that. So those are very good signals, actually, for others to notice as well. So now that we have some of the signals, what are some of the strategies? Like I said, I exercise. I don't know, I've just been a gym buff since 20 years ago, started in college. And it's just, I like being able to push my body to its maximum, it helps me feel better, and all those good endorphins and hormones that are from that. And I also like to listen to music.
That's good. But now let's go back to the exercise piece, because not every sister is a gym rat kind.
Very true, very true.
I happen to be as well. But the issue is, we put roadblocks in front of ourselves around exercise. Oh, I don't want to sweat out my hair. Yeah, even though, both of us, we have very short hair, but it's there are, swimming is another thing, but there's so many things that we say to ourselves, well, I can't do that. Walking, please, just walking is something that in and of itself, the rhythm of taking a stride, and you don't have to be power walking.
Right.
You can really just leisurely be walking, but the rhythm of your walking can kind of calm you down, help you to breathe, right? Which is a really important thing. Meditation.
Okay.
Yoga, you don't have to do these kinds of activities to be able to center yourself. Sometimes just meditation and breathe.
Okay. So when you say that, now let's get into this in our community.
Okay.
Women who we're very faith-based in our community. Yes. And oftentimes when you say meditate, or yoga, some who are extremely devout take that as you're practicing some form of alternative religion or something, or they view it as bad. So, meditation is breathing. You don't have to chant.
You don't have to chant and do all sorts of, you don't have to grab on crystals. You don't have to do any of that. When I say meditation, I mean tune into your body. And the way that you can do that is through your breath. Really, be still. Even the scriptures talk about being still, right? And let the Spirit take you where you need to go. So even, it doesn't matter what your religious affiliation is. If you believe, if you don't believe, we all have a body. That's our temple.
Right.
So let's crawl into the temple, slow down, be still, and breathe.
So for me, my mind is always moving a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And what my therapist had me do, it's a form of mindful meditation. I couldn't picture like an ocean scene or something because my mind is doing calculations on bills and stuff in the back of my mind. So she had me lay still and be quiet. And then it's basically taking an inventory of each muscle or bone in my body. And I start from like my baby toe on the left foot. Yeah. And then I try to relax my toenails and then I move successively up my body so that I'm actually relaxed. And that is one of the things that helps with my anxiety is doing that just 5 minutes.
But taking that, and it's so on point to start with your feet because that's where you're grounded, right? And you need to get that grounding once again. And then if you're moving up your body and then you are releasing, just release your thoughts, release that energy. You know, it's let's call it exhale.
There we go.
You know, it's exhale. It's kind of, once you're kind of centered in your body, you're breathing and you can kind of, you can settle. You can settle.
And that's definitely helpful, especially for those of us who are going through all these 50 million scans, a whole bunch of scans all the time. Absolutely. And being poked and prodded. I know that it's enabled me to actually fall asleep when I'm getting a bone scan. I've fallen asleep even with the loud machine going. So
so another thing that you can actively do, you know, because your mind, like you say, it's going. You have to give a place for those thoughts and those energies to go. And so I'm also big on journaling.
Oh, okay.
And it's not about, I'm not saying blogging. I'm not saying get on your computer and do this. I'm saying pick up a pen and some paper and actually write, doodle. Now, it's not like writing an essay. It does not have to make sense. It doesn't have to be on the line. It doesn't have to be any of those things. But there is a kinesthetic way of taking that energy and releasing it and giving it a place to go by journaling, by putting it on a piece of paper, or even having a journal. You never have to go back and read that stuff if you don't want to. But it's also a wonderful tool that if you want to remember things, and chemo brain is real.
Yes, definitely.
So if there's certain things, treasured moments that you want to remember, you have a place to go back to it and use your own stillness to re-engage with yourself by your own words.
Right? I like the idea of journaling that's unscripted, because normally I'm not a pen and paper person anymore. Yeah. And just the thought of someone saying journal, write it down, I'm like, who writes anymore on paper? But the fact that you can do it freehand, whether you're doodling or just writing words or whatever flows out of you, that is intriguing. That's almost like there's others that use coloring. Yeah, adult coloring is a big deal.
It is.
Come back. It's soothing.
Yeah. It is a wonderful self-soothing mechanism. Yeah, so I'm really, really big on that. So we've talked about stillness and meditation and journaling.
I've tried acupuncture. What are your thoughts on acupuncture?
Hey, if you have access to it, that's really great. That's really wonderful. For some women, especially because you have to have so many needles in the middle of your treatment, the thought of putting more needles into your body, it might be appealing.
It might not be. It's just, I'm somewhat on the fringe of the group, just because I have lots of tattoos and I just know it helps me a lot. So I was doing it before.
Yeah, but you know what? There are some I'm big in tea.
Okay.
herbal tea, you know,
Okay.
and we're in the summertime right now, so make it cold, make it cold, or make it warm. But there are a soothing. It's very soothing to be able to have those herbs like a chamomile tea,
Okay.
which is really, really calming, a peppermint tea, which is soothing to your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
If your stomach is not
Okay.
doing this, uh, then it helps you to be able to relax more.
Okay.
You know, soaking, soaking in the tub is
Yeah.
another thing where you can just, relax, have those candles, doing the
Yeah.
aromatherapy
Aromatherapy. That
is
okay.
really, really, really effective. So, what are all of these things? These are tuning into your body. And one thing for cancer, for women who are in treatment or metastatic, one of the kind of coping mechanisms to all of what's being done to your body is to kind of check out.
Yeah.
Just kind of present your body for treatment, but your spirit and your soul, you're kind of detached. You have to be. That's
Mm-hmm.
protective. Sometimes you even to even not feel the pain, you separate yourself from your body. What I'm
Yeah.
saying with this is it's very restorative to reclaim your body,
Be present.
be present, to be centered, to crawl back into your body. Your senses are a way for you to heal yourself mentally by what you smell, what you taste, what you're touching, how your actual feeling. Your senses are a way to reclaim your body. And if you're fully living within your body and integrating your mind and your body, then that's also a way to be able to release the trauma of what you're going through in treatment, and to also release the trauma of what's going on out in the world. You can kind of close the door.
That really resonates with me because
Yeah,
I do almost like physically separate myself from my body when I'm going into chemo, and
yeah,
all the way up to even this week, because the first 6 days after chemo is very rough. I'm very lethargic, very tired. And
yeah,
instead of it worrying me, I just kind of sort of shut down. But I
yeah,
do need to remember how to reclaim myself and to center myself and set time back to myself,
yeah.
um, to actually be present within my body so that I can recalibrate. And maybe it probably will help my recovery
Right,
a lot
right.
faster, a lot better.
If you literally embrace your body, it's very restorative, right? So the first kind of therapy is not just about mental, being with a therapist. The first therapy is reclaiming your own body through self-care.
Okay, that's very profound. That I'm look
Yeah.
scribbling little notes, scribbling notes.
Well,
That's
yes.
very
Self-care is one of the best therapies. And what's so wonderful about it, you can make it exactly what you need it to be. You know, no matter what scent. Some people like lilac, some people hate it, some people, you know, so you can personalize your self-care regimen in such a way that you're totally embracing yourself in the way that's most effective for you. And you have to give yourself permission to do this, because most women, while they're in treatment, they're still having to take care of other people. They're worried about, well, am I going to be able to pay this bill? And there's so many things that can pull you away from giving yourself permission to take the time for yourself. But you have to do that, because if you're not right, nobody else can be right. You can't give your best to someone else if you're not at your best. But be kind to yourself. Don't say, well, I should be able to do this, or no, accept yourself where you are at this moment and recognize that where you were at the beginning of the day might not be where you are now. And so you have to calibrate throughout the day to make sure that you're being kind to yourself and not pushing yourself, because you don't have the same kind of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual resilience. You're being beat down by this treatment. You're being beaten down by what you're seeing on the news. You're being beaten down by so much that it's hard to, say, okay, enough. We're going to stop right there. I'm going to take my 5 minutes, my 10 minutes, my half hour. And don't talk to me. Just don't talk to me.
So it's basically about being selfish with yourself. Being selfish with yourself.
Yeah, but it's not, being selfish has a negative connotation.
Right.
So, self-care is not selfish. It's self-affirming. It's self-affirming. So we even have to look at the language of how
we're using, right?
So we're not forcing ourselves at a time when
I feel bad about needing a couple of minutes or saying no.
Exactly. You know what? You have to be okay with not being okay. You have to give yourself permission to acknowledge, I am not okay right now. It is healthy to acknowledge where you're at.
Okay. That's very good.
That's where you open the portal for healing, when you can acknowledge that you need to be healed. And I'm not just talking about your body, I'm talking about your spirit, right? And so, and what's so hard, especially during this pandemic, is our typical coping mechanisms, being able to be in,
embrace, yes,
physically be with other people, to have that healing touch, to go to our houses of worship.
Right.
All of those things, we're not the typical coping mechanisms that we have. Many of them are not
available.
They're not available to us. So all the more reason why in our isolation, make that a healing space and not a space of woe, of feeling even more isolated and separated, because you're separated from other people. You can't be separated from yourself.
That's awesome advice. Awesome advice. So what would let someone know if while they're practicing self-care, maybe it's not taking care of the issue? What would be some signals to know that maybe I should seek professional help?
It is natural to feel down, but to be laid flat and not be able to move out of your bed, or not being able to engage with your daily life activities, that's where it's kind of like, I better check on this. I need help. I need help. And it's so difficult for us to even acknowledge we need help.
Yes.
Because most Black women, when we think of therapy, it's kind of like, white folks talk about their feelings. We don't talk about our feelings.
We just get stuff done.
Yeah, exactly. That's white folks stuff. Right. We don't do that, and I just have to be real, because that's how we talk, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
There's so many different kinds of therapy that there are ways to seek out help in a way that's most healing for you.
Well, I can speak to how I've gone about finding a therapist and what has helped me. I am currently in therapy. I speak with my therapist, who I love. She is a woman of color. She is a Cubana. She's from Cuba, and she's a breast cancer survivor, which I know is rare. But yeah. I'm saying that for a specific reason, is that I reached out to one of my other girlfriends in my breast cancer support group, and we were talking about our feelings, and we have newcomers and the faithful that have been around for a while, and we were all discussing, while you're in active treatment, it's go, 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 fight, defeat. And then there's a sharp drop off and a large emotional toll after it's over. And so I was like, I find myself not being able to relate, or I'm angry, or I don't have compassion like I used to. And my one girlfriend said, I'm talking to this therapist. She's amazing. This is her number. And so that's how I found a lot of the information that I needed in the breast cancer community, was from support groups and asking other breast cancer survivors or metastatic breast cancer patients. So what would be, for those who may not be in groups or forums or not feel comfortable, what would be a way for someone to check? Do you just search on Yelp? It's not like you're looking at the rating of a restaurant.
No. But there's a site called Therapy for Black Girls.
Oh, Therapy for Black Girls.
Therapy for Black Girls.
And you take notes while you're talking. Keep
talking. Because there's a registry of Black female therapists nationwide. Ooh, yeah. And so even just not Yelp, but because who knows who's writing those?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You can't. It's not like a restaurant. Type deal. You kind of sort of.
Yeah. There's also the Association of Black Social Workers, Association of Black Therapists, Association, so the professional associations also. The American Psychological Association has a whole section dedicated to therapists of color, which is a registry, right? So, and what's good about that is with all of these, there are reviews, and there's peer reviews also, right? So and what's really great is many of these therapists take insurance.
Right.
If they don't take insurance, many of them do sliding scale.
Okay. Because that is another issue as well.
Yeah. So,
getting to it, but being able to afford it amongst everything else that we're already paying for.
Exactly.
And what's going on in our lives as well. Would you also say, someone asked me, like, what if I don't like her or him or her? And I'm like, make an appointment with another one.
Yeah. Now, before you just kind of open up and dump your life to somebody.
Right.
The first step is interview them. Understand yourself enough to know, what is it that I need to feel safe in having a conversation with someone else. Maybe it is, I want a Black woman or a woman of color, which I think is important. As opposed to there are male therapists also.
Yeah.
But, so no, as far as, your gender preference. I mean, there's even, if you are gender nonconforming, for example, there are
Right.
therapists that identify themselves to you in that way. So, there are Christian therapists,
Yes.
so understand what your baseline need is. And then when you engage with them, most of them give you the opportunity to just have a short conversation where you get the vibe. You see if you have chemistry, and it doesn't have to be, where you a mental checklist or discernment. It can just be a chemical kind of thing. I don't like how, I don't like how her mouth looks when she talks.
I don't like swallow water.
As silly as that, but the point of it is, if it's going to be a barrier for you,
right,
to be able to engage with this person, then be real about it, and next,
right,
go to somebody else.
Right. And one of the things now that we are dealing with in the pandemic is that they've moved a lot of services to telehealth or televisit. And that's how I've actually had mine over a secured webcam. It's almost like FaceTime. It's just secured.
Yeah.
It does have its pros and its cons, because I already have an established rapport with her. So it's just like us talking on the phone or in person.
Right.
But maybe for someone who is searching, that's where some of that disconnect or you may feel uneasy may come through. And I know, depending on the region that you're in this country, sometimes virtual appointments aren't the best thing. Maybe the cell phone tower doesn't have the strongest signal. Right. I've had a girlfriend who's going through it in rural North Carolina, having really bad issues connecting with her oncologist. So it depends on where you're at, what your insurance will allow, but it's definitely worth a try. And it should open it up to more people who normally wouldn't have the time to actually make time for the appointment on their busy schedule, if it is a virtual appointment.
Yeah. Well, and also recognize that you're using this time with your therapist. That's one part of it. But sometimes it depends on, like, if you're dealing with somebody who has a background in cognitive behavioral therapy, you get assignments. They might give you questions, so that in the intervening time, you can kind of muse yourself. You can kind of center yourself in a structured way, so that the face-to-face time is, the value of it is extended, because after your appointment, you have an assignment. You can think about some more things, work some things out, and then bring that information back to your next face-to-face visit, so that you are physically engaged between your visits in a way that amplifies the value of those visits.
I've heard some folks have homework. My homework has been learning to say no, because I like to be everywhere, doing everything for every advocacy event to the detriment of my own body.
Right.
And so she tasked me with learning self-care and stop saying no to everything, and to keep a calendar. So I do have homework. And to get into another topic, it's the same, but being Black in America in 2020 and for the past 400 years, since we're having these things happen, we're seeing two men and women of color, and then we're digging up the racial disparities in healthcare, systemic racism when it comes to education, where we live, all of these things that are affecting our lives on the day-to-day, compounded to a diagnosis of cancer, it sort of even triggers everything.
That's the word.
A trigger.
That's the word, triggers. There are tripwires out there with so much of that stuff. And so that the awareness of, there are times when you just have to shut it down. What do I mean by that? Get off of social media. Just walk away, because it is a constant assault, and that I'm using that word on purpose.
It is.
That just the waves of that information coming at you is an assault. That you have to interrupt those signals,
right?
And so, you know, we're on Twitter and FaceTime and Instagram and, you know, Facebook.
And then it's on the news. And then we're talking to each other in the hair salon, nail salon, telephone calls.
Yes. Go on a news blackout. Don't watch the and you know, and even you know, some movies, you know, are triggering.
12 Years a Slave, because now they've had all of these movies, Django Unchained. They've had all these movies because they're popular and they're
like, you know,
it's too much.
Yeah, Xfinity even has a new subcategory that's Black Lives Matter. It's all of those the help. I mean, come on. That's about the language.
Complaining. It's great that we're subsectioning and people can go, but it, like you said, it's an assault and an overload. And
so here's what I would substitute for that. Keep off the television, keep off the social media. But like you said, music is very, very healing. Soothing music, aromatherapy, just, you know, kind of build a healing circle around yourself where you can push that stuff away. Right. Because we have to stop allowing the input of this stuff. And to do that, we just have, like you said, you have to say no. But not just no to people, you have to say no to stimuli, no to certain books. You know, my book club was reading a book where it's kind of like, oh, hell no, I can't read this right now.
It's like, never mind, it's not for me.
No, I can't read this right now.
I didn't watch the video, and I do fast from the news. I read the news because some things you need to know. And then when I do the news, if I watch news on TV, I actually watch foreign news, because they report without the sensationalism of what's going on, not only in the United States, but around the whole world, because we get so focused on ourselves.
Exactly.
I take the breaks from social media. You're absolutely correct. And just try to remember to be joyful. And that I am alive. And while I did participate in a march, I actually had to miss a LBBC planning meeting because I felt like in my community, it was important for me to partake in the peaceful protest. But I was there for an hour and a half, and then I came right on home. I put the sign on my door, and then, you know, I try to find other ways to be constructive. I don't stay into I try not to stay into the rage or the anger, or at least I try to channel it into something positive that can affect and make change. Because it does affect us. It seeps in your mind, like you said. It's a constant assault, and it does seep in your brain. And I've spoken to my therapist about it as well, just because it's sad. It's hard to be hopeful. It's hard to fight for my life. And I'm thinking, like, I could be stopped at a traffic sign, or my daughter's away at college, and because she's brown and she's very militant now that she's gone to college. She's a Asada Shakur. You know, she's not going to let anybody just, you know, treat her any old kind of way. So, you know, that fear and try to blend it in with everyday living, being metastatic and so forth and so on, just everyday life. It was very hard for me for 2 weeks to get it together. And I had to talk to her, and she said those very same things. Is sometimes, yes, it is sad, but you have to learn how to disconnect and find something good in the day, even if it's just one small thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm totally there. And, yeah, fear can either shut you down, mm-hmm. or it can open you up. And what I mean by that in a positive way is that if you're afraid of the future, or have fear from things in the past, what you can do is center on the present. What can you do in this moment to open up the parts of me that's shutting down, right? Because in the present, this is the only place where you truly live. So live in the present. That's where you reclaim your hope, because by attending to yourself and making causes in the present, that's what's going to make you strong enough to be able to face whatever eventuality happens in the future.
Down the road.
Right.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So keep coming right back to right now. What can I do in this moment to relieve some of this tension?
Yeah.
Is it getting up from this chair and walking outside? Is it instead of picking up that glass of wine or that Hennessy, getting that chamomile tea,
Right.
So it's like in the moment you can make choices that are going to be restorative, that are going to buy you some space, some time to reclaim some energy so that you can bring it down and take hold of your life again.
Those are awesome. That is definitely awesome advice. To definitely be prepared for what will happen in the future.
Yeah.
So our time, we've talked for a whole hour.
Have we really?
Yes.
Okay.
Enjoyable conversation. You've helped me so much, and I've learned so much. Was there anything last that you'd like to share in regards to seeking therapy and so forth?
Yeah, well, I said it earlier, but I want to restate it, that it truly is okay to say you're not okay and to seek help. It is not a sign of weakness to seek help. It's a sign of strength.
I'm going to have to put that on a sticky.
Okay.
So this video myself, I need to put it on a sticky, that it is not a sign of weakness to realize and to seek help. That is definitely something that I need to remember all of the time, and probably visually looking at it is the only thing that is going to stick in my brain.
Exactly.
I appreciate all your words. Thank you for having this important discussion with me today and sharing your helpful strategies and resources. Remember, LBBC has a helpline at lbbc.org where you can be matched with someone who has similar diagnosis. And please check our closed Facebook groups for support. The Breast Cancer Support, All Ages, All Stages, and Breast Cancer Support for Young Women.
Right.
Thank you again for being here. And remember, we will get through this together. Stay safe, and we will talk with you again.
Wonderful. Thanks.